Hello and welcome to the Owatonna Today Show, your community connection. I'm your host, Francy Hall. We hope that you had a wonderful Thanksgiving. We want you to know that we're going to be talking a little bit about food today too, so stay tuned for that. And then we're going to have an interview with Congressman Tim Walz. First, though, it is Friday, and we want to thank our sponsors. They are wonderful community members that bring us to you, so they, through supporting us, are your community connections. Our premier sponsors are Advocates for Developmental Disabilities, the City of Owatonna, Express Employment Professionals, Owatonna Public Utilities, and United Way of Steele County. Our primary sponsors are Amy Swain Hearing Centers, Brookdale Senior Living Solutions, Little Theater of Owatonna, and the Owatonna Foundation. Our interlude sponsors are Abraham Consulting Technologies, Bremer Bank, Brenda Bednar Mortgage Office, Glenn Mager and Michael Mager of the Brick Mager Funeral Home and Medford Funeral Home, Carlson Brandstad and Company CPAs, ERA Gillespie Real Estate, Fairview Animal Medical Center, Horizon Eye Care, Owatonna Business Incubator, Steele County Historical Society, Steele County Transitional Housing, the Third Hand Video Productions, and TPS Insurance. We hope that you will support these organizations that support our community and our show. Stay with us. We will be back after a word from our sponsors with Louanne Kaupa and Eat Well Nutrition Therapy.
Hi, I'm Dr. Beth Giltvet.
And I'm Dr. Nick Vincelli of Horizon Eye Care.
We want you to see what you love and love how you see. We're proud sponsors of the Owatonna Today Show.
I needed more than just another dead-end job. I wanted a career, so I expressed myself.
With the kids off to college, I decided it was time for me to go back to work and express myself.
Express got me in touch with some really great companies. Now I'm on my way to a great career.
Express Employment Professionals is in contact with thousands of companies in need of quality employees. Come in now and get the job you deserve.
Express yourself today.
Welcome back. Well, let's face it, we've mostly stuffed ourselves, I think, all day yesterday. And so it's time that we talk about nutrition. We are here with registered dietitian and owner of Eat Well Nutrition Therapy, Louanne Kaupa.
Welcome.
Hello, Louanne.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, we're going to be talking about food.
Yes.
I mean, hopefully.
Yeah.
If
we haven't thought enough about it for the last week.
We're going to be talking about particularly, our nutrition and also especially about organic foods too, right?
Right.
So let's get rolling. We just had a great holiday where we had all kinds of good foods. And what are some of the things that you as a nutritionist would like people to know about the food that they're eating?
I think it's just important in general that people are aware of their food and where their food comes from, and hopefully to know their farmer. So I'm going to talk a little bit today, I think, about
getting to know a farmer.
Getting to know a farmer, right.
All right.
I've been asked to speak on organic foods of late, a month ago at the Art Center, and I think that's what brought me here today, was kind of that interest. And so I'd like to discuss a little bit about why all the organics and what's the push for it, why is the push, and when has the push started?
Sure. I like, what you said, we should get to know a farmer. We should get to know our food and what each of those foods does for us. Isn't that what nutrition is?
Right.
Right? Like, why am I eating this thing? What is this doing for me?
Because food is medicine.
Or it's poison. It just depends.
Can be.
Can be.
Right. Can be partially or have toxins in it that are not so good for us. And that's what I'd like people to understand, is how to avoid some things that could be potentially making them unhealthy or contributing to potential risk for disease states.
Sure. Not so nutritious.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, exactly.
All right. Well, yeah, why organics? And when did the organic movement kind of, I want to say take off, but really locally, it took a while to get here locally.
Yeah, we've had organics in our community for quite some time, but actually, historically, we've been an organic community because prior to conventional farming of today, most people did farm organically. But the standards for organic came into play in 2002, so it's a fairly new in terms of definition of what organics is. And it took about 15 years for USDA to come to what that legal definition of organics means. So legal definition of organics, according to the United States Department of Agriculture, is no use of pesticides. So no GMO crops, no pesticides on our produce, and animals that we can classify as organics also need to be fed organic and raised humanely, so outdoor grazing and not penned up in a small feedlot, so to say. So that's part of that organic movement. But I think we'll concentrate today a little bit more on the organic produce.
Yeah, it's such a big topic. I don't. 10 minutes is not going to be able to cut it. So good. Let's focus on the organic produce, which is something everybody can kind of get their arms around.
So prior to the 1950s, most people did eat organic food because that's really what conventional farming had been. It wasn't until we had highway systems to transport food across the continent that we started doing agriculture different, and our agricultural policies had changed at that point, and we were then and still are trying to alleviate hunger. And so just what we paid farmers to produce started to change. And that has led to some breakdown in what quality foods are available to us as consumers. But the organic movement truly was a movement from the sustainable farming community. And sustainable farming is about taking care of the land for future generations so we can produce food, as well as avoiding unnecessary chemicals that contaminate the land for years. So an organic farm needs to be certified organic, not using pesticides for 3 years before they can certify organic.
Because otherwise they're growing it in soil that has been contaminated. Is that it?
Right, exactly. And some chemicals we know now, pesticides actually do linger in the soil even longer. Like there's decades long some chemicals takes for them to really degrade in our soils. But the definition of organic is 3 years before they can right to certify to be organic. And not all farms who practice organic are going to pay to be certified organic, because there is a fee charged with becoming a certified organic farm. And some of our smaller farmers around our area, there's quite a few in Rice County. We have a few budding farmers in Steele County that are organic, and a few very well-established organic farms in Steele County. But there are organic produce farms, or they're farming organic but not certified organic.
Because that's a process to go through, and it's also an expense.
And it's an expense, right. So if it's only a small part of their income, which for many that is, farming might be secondary, they won't certify for organic. But we do have plenty, in Rice County at least, organic produce farmers. We also have an organic CSA in Steele County here.
Boundless Roots?
Boundless Roots, exactly.
And Schultz's Organic.
And Schultz's Organic. Larry Schultz has been farming organic poultry and poultry products, eggs, for 20 years.
And from what you're saying, we are an egg community. And so legacy-wise, our grandparents were probably farming organic. So it's a fairly newer thing that we're...
Legal definition.
It's a newer thing anyway that...
However, we've really gotten away from that traditional agricultural practices and into much more pesticide use. And we do know now there are several organizations, health organizations, that are really encouraging, especially for young children, pregnant women, those individuals with smaller bodies, where a higher dose and longer exposure of pesticides do contribute to diseases such as cancer and Parkinson's disease. And
Parkinson's too, huh?
Yeah, there's really strong links between pesticide exposure and Parkinson's disease. And that's not just in applicators, that's in spouses who wash the clothing from applicators.
So our people who are working in these fields and spraying this, you're saying they are more likely to have these health risks?
miscarriage rate and stillborn rate of agricultural workers is double that of the normal population.
That reminds me of Cesar Chavez
Yes.
and the grapes in California and how they had to transform the agriculture there because of it. And so it's still the same kind of battle.
Yep.
It's not grapes, it's everything.
Right. And that's why knowing your farmer can be
Know
helpful.
your farmer, love your farmer.
Yes, know your farmer, know what they're doing. And again, even using less pesticides than maybe were applied if you are shipping food 1,000 miles away can help decrease our overall exposure to pesticides.
Is that some of the problem, is the distances that we're trying to travel with the food? Or why do we do the pesticides? I mean, I guess it increases the yield.
Pesticides are, pesticides is an overall class for insecticides, so products that would help to kill insects that might invade a plant and decrease its production, or fungicides, so molds and spores type things that you'd see more in the southeast, so tomatoes grown in Florida type things. And then herbicides, so herbicides are going to control weeds, so your Roundup type products. And all of those are used for different reasons, obviously to kill insects that might destroy a product, to kill a mold or a fungus that might make it not perfect in appearance.
So it might still be okay, but not
Right,
maybe,
but in
that
that-
apple doesn't look quite so delicious to me when it's not quite as red.
True, that could be, but sometimes that whole transportation phase will increase those problems, just because it's being in transport longer under those conditions, and then in our grocery store for however many other days longer. So different pesticides are used for different reasons, and if we can look at purchasing foods closer to home when we can, we have less chance, just because they don't need to use as many pesticides for that.
So our viewers, we would love for them to know what are some of the things that they should seek out, and what are some of the things they should avoid? We don't have a whole lot of time. So
since 2003, the Environmental Work Group was a committee devised or assigned from the EPA, so the Environmental Protection Agency, and in 2003 they started to really come out with what are the most contaminated produce in our grocery store, and they call it the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15.
Okay.
So the Dirty Dozen, you can go to EWG, so environmentalworkgroup.org, and pull off your own list. Every year, like I said, it changes a little bit.
So I don't know if Leanne can show this, but it's a printable list that we can bring with us into the grocery store.
Yeah.
Okay.
And again, for children, this is probably the most important. The Clean 15, the Clean 15 we're not as concerned about, because those food items like asparagus, avocados, cabbage, cantaloupe, grapefruit, those type, kiwi, those kind of things don't tend to have as many problems with pesticides. Not that they are clean totally, but they're not going to be as problematic as your apples. Grapes that are exported typically are on the list every year.
Okay.
So
of the Dirty Dozen.
Right.
Yeah. Apples.
Peaches, apples are one of the most.
Potatoes. I'm reading your list.
Potatoes, that's
Celery.
right. Celery, cherry tomatoes, cucumbers, nectarines, peaches, those thin-skinned.
So
kind of
those we
produce.
want to buy
Strawberries,
organic.
strawberries, spinach,
Strawberries. Yes.
green peppers. Peppers are really highly. So if you can get them local, that's great. Or organic, that's where you're going to get your biggest bang for the buck.
Leanne, we have to have you back on the show. Leanne and I have to have you back on the show, because this is way too much information
It is.
and it's so good information. Okay, so avoid the Dirty Dozen. Find that list on, what is it again?
EWG.org.
Okay. Stay with us. After a word from our sponsors, we took a visit with Congressman Tim Walz.
Purpose and dignity.
Building a community of opportunity.
Painting a brighter tomorrow.
Supporting all people in times of need.
Bringing neighbors together.
Investing in the building blocks of education, income, and health.
Please join us and all Napa Distribution Center employees by giving generously, advocating for a better quality of life, and volunteering your time. We all win when we
live united.
Hi, this is Eric with the West Hills Tennis and Fitness Center. A heated swimming pool, sauna, running track, cardio room, basketball court, weight room, and 6 tennis courts are among the amenities you can enjoy at our facility. We have a variety of membership packages available to meet the needs of everyone, or you can simply drop in for the day. Stop out today and take advantage of all we have to offer. West Hills Tennis and Fitness, encouraging and promoting a healthy lifestyle.
Amy Swain Hearing Centers is a proud sponsor of the Owatonna Today Show. I'm Dr. Amy Swain, and I want everyone to hear better.
Hi, I'm Brenda with the Mortgage Office of Brenda Bednar, aligned with American Mortgage and Equity Consultants, where closings feel right from the beginning. I'm a proud supporter of the Owatonna Today Show.
I'm Deb Gillard. And I'm Shawn McNulty with Brookdale Owatonna Assisted Living and Memory Care,
where we provide optimum living activities to keep our residents engaged in life.
And we are a proud sponsor of the Owatonna Today Show.
Welcome back to the Owatonna Today Show. I'm your host, Francy Hall, and I am here with Leanne at the VFW, visiting with Congressman Tim Walz, who's here in Owatonna. And welcome, Tim. Thank you so much for being here.
Well, thanks for having me, Francy. It's always great to be here.
We appreciate it. And so, obviously, big things have just happened at the time that we're talking. We have now a new Speaker of the House.
Yes.
There's quite a few things to talk about, but would you start off telling us about this new transition that we're facing?
Yeah, well, first of all, I want to congratulate someone that I've known well. Got to kind of down in the locker room, we're close, share lockers, and I see Paul Ryan quite a bit. And so having a new speaker, I think, opens up new opportunities. I think John Boehner served admirably. We had a House, though, that just couldn't figure out how to move a lot of the important legislation. So I'm excited about this. Last week proved what's possible. We moved some bipartisan legislation, removing this crisis-to-crisis governance. We got an opportunity to reauthorize the Export-Import Bank, important to our manufacturers right here in the 1st District. And we have a speaker who pledged to make the regular order of the House work. And I think the American people, regardless of their political ideology, they expect their government to function. And so I think last week was historic in many ways. I remain optimistic. I think we have to figure out how to get by our differences and still get important things like the highway bill done, figure out how to get budgets done in a responsible manner. And Paul Ryan, I think, gives us that opportunity. So I'm pretty excited and looking forward to what his speakership can bring.
Absolutely. And what are some of the things that didn't get done under the last session with the last House? What's going to get done, do you think, coming up that's important that we should know about?
Yeah, well, before the holidays, what we did last week was authorize a budget. We set the limits. Now we have to go back and figure out where that money's going to be spent. So that's the role of government. That's the role of an elected official, and I think that's our responsibility. So that budget process has to go. They say it's going to go in the regular order, and we'll have some arguments and disagreements, but I think we can get it done. That's something we've had a real hard time getting done, and by
passing a budget,
it has not happened. And and if you blame the Senate or if you blame the House, to the American people, it makes no difference. We need to get that, and I don't think you can operate without that. And I think the budget is the thing that the House originates it. It's our responsibility for taxation and spending, and now we get a chance to do that. So that's the first thing on the plate, and then of course the highway bill. Here in Owatonna and elsewhere across the country, but I would argue especially in southern Minnesota, vibrant economy, manufacturing, moving agricultural goods, and yet stuck on a very dangerous piece of road in Highway 14. I think the state officials and local officials have done an admirable job of piecing together. We've over the years got some money to put together pieces of Highway 14, but we need a long-term 5-year highway bill that gives certainty, invests, and lets us get some of that done. So
is that a possibility, do you think, coming up now?
Yes, and I would say probably over the last half dozen years, the possibility is greater now than it has been. We've done 38 straight extensions. The last one was for 3 weeks. Great nations do not fund their transportation infrastructure in 3-week increments.
We don't fund our household budgets in 3-week increments
either.
either.
And I think the public, again, regardless of their political ideology, expects investments in infrastructure that make sense, that are cost effective, make our highways safer, and also make our transportation system competitive in a world market. That is on the horizon now for the first time. I think it is possible, if not by the end of the year, potentially early into the next session. Those are two big log jams that would be, I think, if Paul Ryan can do that, he's off on a good start.
Okay, so we need to get the budget in place, and we need to get the funding, hopefully, for transportation. Right. Let's say that we get that funding, God willing, and Congress willing, and everything else. What happens then? Because you can get money put in there for the highway bills and stuff, but it's up to the state, isn't it?
That's correct. And again, that's where I feel very good about our local state officials and Governor Dayton's administration under MnDOT Commissioner Charlie Zelli. We get money to them, coupled with the corridors of commerce that the state put in last time. They can start programming out. It's very difficult right now for them to program long-term plans on how you're going to build out, whether it be outstate infrastructure or metro transit. This should give them the certainty. I think what you'll see is a lot of people getting put back to work in construction. You'll see a lot of these backlogs of jobs starting to be addressed for the first time, and also lets then some decision making be made. The state of Minnesota, the mayors around here, they know best about this investment.
So what else is coming down the pike that you think that your congressional constituents would want to know about?
Yeah, well, I think first of all, something we've worked on for a long time, and I think there's great bipartisan support, and I feel like we're getting closer on this issue, is some real long-term reforms to the VA system. There are very few things that unify this country like care for our veterans. The problem is it's complex, it's costly, at times it's disjointed, at other times it's just darn right neglectful, we've seen at times. And I think all of us together, and I say that not just elected officials, I say citizens, nonprofits, the public sector, the private sector together, that now is the time for us to come up with some long-term fixes on this. And I'm working closely with my colleague, the chairman of the committee, Jeff Miller, in Florida, to try and craft some of this that makes sense of what the VA system does well, to build on that. What they don't do well, let's use resources out there. Let's move people, if they can use local doctors, let's get them to do that. And I think you can do that without kind of the false choices of either you privatize the VA or you send everyone into that system. That's not the way it's ever been, probably not the way the fix is. So I think that sets out there on the horizon to have some potential to get done. And then again, we're looking at some of the agricultural issues that are coming up. That we have we're still in force with the last farm bill, but there's new challenges on the horizon. We saw it last year with high path avian flu. Devastating to the first district. Locally. There were lessons learned, and I think most of us understand how these things work. It's not if, it's when we have this happen again. We're going to need to be prepared to put those things into place. And what
kind of things do we need to put in place?
Yeah, I think USDA and everything from looking at vaccinations, and I know this is a bit of a controversial issue because when you vaccinate for this, you obviously have small traces in the antibodies, makes exports harder, but that's a potential. But there's also kind of these SWAT teams to come in to make sure we close down areas that get hot faster so we don't have the spread. I think there were lessons learned.
So containment of if and when.
That's right, and that takes a strategy, and it takes a national strategy. It takes the best science mixing with the ability of both public and private entities to come into these infected barns, make sure we get there, make sure we get it as quick as possible, and again, trying to put some things in place to make sure that our producers aren't knocked out of business for this. We have farm safety nets that the producers pay into, like crop insurance. Those things make sense, and we're looking at things for disaster relief in livestock that can maybe make sense going forward. So a similar plan for disaster relief that they would pay into and then have this money come back to them. Yeah, that's correct, about thinking it through. And I think first and foremost is the prevention of it, and then the containment of it, and then figuring out what we can do. Because again, the industry in southern Minnesota, it was into the billions of dollars in losses. That's the equivalent of a Mayo Clinic type of thing, that agriculture is still king. And I think that's on the horizon. So I like most of my colleagues, pretty optimistic that maybe now is the time to start tackling some of these things. Okay. And do we have a fair percentage of our output in terms of our poultry and our other, livestock that go overseas? We do. Is that a pretty big number? It is. And so this issue on trade, and I think most Americans are really torn on this. If you listen in a presidential campaign, you hear people all over the board. It's certainly important for us to be able to export our products, but our trade deals have to be fair, making sure that we're given the same consideration. I think making sure that the workers are treated fairly. If we're going to compete against workers being paid substandard wages in dangerous working conditions, we can't manufacture here. So
sure. Or we're going to race to the bottom and have our people suffer the same things.
That's exactly right. And I think, again, I think there's a chance we can enter into a politics that it's not an either-or choice. We certainly need trade. It certainly needs to be fair. If you do that, then it's a win-win. And so I think after last week, historic week, there's opportunities here to make government work. And what I mean that is improve people's lives and allow the private enterprise to do what it does best, create jobs. And I think, again, that's what Minnesotans want.
We want a government that works.
That's it.
That's a good concept,
right.
Isn't it?
It's a good
and I'm
concept.
so glad that we know you have relationships. You've been there for a little while. You've built strong relationships with Paul Ryan, who is now the speaker. So hopefully we can get it done. Thank you so much for being with us. We so appreciate it. Congressman Walz.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Thank you for being with us. Please stay with us after a word from our sponsors.
Hello, my name is Katie Marshall. A year ago, my family and I became homeless. We were scared and alone. Today, with the help of Steele County Transitional Housing and generous donors like you, my family and I are safely housed. I am working, going to college, paying my rent on time. My children have a warm bed to sleep in every night. My family and I are so grateful for this second chance. Please help others in need by donating to Transitional Housing today. Everyone deserves a safe place to live.
Welcome to Bremer Bank. I am Jason Iberg.
And I'm Shannon Pedersen.
Bremer is a full financial services bank.
We invite you to stop by Bremer Bank and experience the Bremer difference.
You are always welcome at Bremer.
Welcome back. It's time for community announcements. We want to remind you again that bell ringers are still needed for the Salvation Army. So if you are in that spirit, please do call 507-413-6700 and sign up to be a bell ringer. Saturday, November 28th, the Give Hope Concert. It is a free will donation concert at the Owatonna Senior High School Auditorium, November 28th at 7 p.m. to benefit Transitional Housing of Steele County. Sunday, December 6th, the Star of Hope lighting, and that's to benefit the Owatonna Hospice. It is at 5 p.m. There will be music, prayer, remembrance of your loved ones, followed by the lighting of the star. A gift of $10 or a donation of your choice will help to light the star and to support Owatonna Hospice. 4th annual Battle of the Bars for the Humane Society is being hosted at the Eagles Club on December 13th from 12:30 until 3 p.m. This is a talent show of employees from bars in town. $10 to get in, and you must be 21 and have an ID. Again, it benefits the Humane Society. Thank you so much for joining us today. We hope that you will come back and join us next week. On Monday, our show will be Shop with Santa and LTO's A Christmas Carol. We hope you join us then.